Complacency, inevitability, a refusal to actually engage and struggle to get there. And I mean that either on a kind of technological inevitability in which some people think if we just let the internet be, we'll get freedom. And on the other side, a kind of economic inevitability, a critical perspective which often assumes we'll never get there, why bother?
Threat by internet freedom to those who don't have access would mean that their issues would get sidelined there. And I think it's interesting because the internet is both the tool to advocate this and also the object of advocacy.
You can see threats to internet freedom, both from the state, but also, and increasingly by private intermediaries. A number of obvious regulatory harms have arisen as the internet has embedded itself in our everyday lives. You can see there is, in a sense, a need for some form of regulation. And the way states are responding is, in some senses, by harnessing the ability of intermediaries to regulate activity on the internet where they themselves fail because of the jurisdiction problem.
The biggest threat to internet freedom in Nigeria, if you ask me, is the recent very sad development in the United States, of the United States government, going behind doors to have access to all citizens' communications on all such platforms as Google, Microsoft, and so on and so forth.
The biggest threat in Egypt is the government. It's a government that is, I think, so fragile and so scared that they are going they're going after every single note on Twitter and every single, status on Facebook and every single blog post. To me, that just gives me an impression of how weak and how fragile the government is. It's about to fall apart, and it's scary.
The NSA is the National Security Agency. It's a U.S. agency that has historically been into signals intelligence, Cold War stuff of trying to intercept signals around the world to figure out what the enemy is doing. And now they're building a huge data center in Utah where they can store all of this stuff for long periods of time. They're also doing two other things that have come out in the news recently. The PRISM program is their access to the internet service providers like Google and Facebook and Microsoft and Apple, where they can access their databases directly to get information on subscriber. And the third thing that's come out just recently is I guess it's a FISA court judgment, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, that requires telecom companies, notably Verizon in this case, but I'm sure it applies to others, to get the metadata, the data about communications, what number called, what other number, when, and for how long, to collect that on a comprehensive basis.
Computers. 20 years ago, there wasn't even a name for them.
There are many threats. I think the recent scandal around, or the revelation, shall we say, around the NSA, the way in which it has got its hooks in multiple ways into the very fabric of the internet, is a fundamental threat. I think also, and connected to it, is the way in which the large corporations that operate key aspects of it are getting larger and larger and less accountable, and that's another major threat.
It is most definitely the way that big corporations have taken over the online space, used it simply to collect data on the individuals and follow and track whatever they're doing in order to sell that on to other people, but also to organise the information that is online itself. So we think when we do a Google search, or many people think, that what they get fed back is what everybody else would get fed back if they were doing it. It's not. Actually, you put in, it looks very carefully at what you've tracked previously, and it gives you back stuff they think you'll find interesting.
If you just want to make the internet free for the Googles and the Microsofts, and that's the end of it, then that's not really being free. The internet was supposed to deliver individual empowerment, It was supposed to actually allow different voices to be expressed in these new wonderful platforms. And at the moment, it's going in the opposite direction. So if it's going to be free, we have to deal with that issue.